Naomi Carter stood barefoot on the cold concrete, staring at the tall iron gate in front of her. The time on her phone read 3:07 a.m. Her hands were shaking, not just from the cold, but from everything that had led her to this moment. The house behind the gate was the house she grew up in. The place where she learned to ride a bike, where her father used to sit on the porch every evening. And now, she wasn't allowed inside. Her phone buzzed softly. 9% battery left. She swallowed and knocked again, harder this time. The sound echoed through the quiet neighborhood. No answer. Naomi stepped closer to the window near the door. The living room light was on. She could see her mother, Patricia Carter, standing inside. For one hopeful second, Naomi thought her mother would come to the door. Instead, Patricia looked straight at the window, and then turned away. Naomi's chest tightened. "Mom," she whispered, even though she knew Patricia couldn't hear her. Her phone buzzed again. A message from her younger brother, Marcus. "Marcus, Mom says this isn't a good idea right now." That was it. No explicación. No apology. No concern that Naomi was outside in the middle of the night with no shoes and nowhere to go. Naomi stared at the message until her eyes burned. This wasn't about the time. This wasn't about being tired or surprised. They had planned this. The locked gate. The silence. The text instead of a face. This was punishment. Her mind started racing, pulling memories she didn't want to think about. During her divorce, when she was barely holding herself together, she paid this house's mortgage. Every month, quietly. When her mother said things were tight, Naomi sent money without being asked. She skipped vacations, worked extra hours, told herself, family comes first. And now here she was, locked out like a stranger. A porch light across the street flickered on. Then another. Curtains shifted. Naomi wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly aware of how exposed she was. Humiliation washed over her, hot and sharp. Fear followed close behind. What if someone called the police? What if they thought she was trying to break in? She knocked one last time, softer now. "Please," she said, her voice barely holding. "I just need to come inside." No answer. Her phone vibrated again. Same message. Same silence from inside the house. Something inside Naomi changed then. It wasn't anger. It wasn't screaming or crying. It was quiet, clear, heavy. I paid for this place, she thought. I kept this family standing when everything was falling apart. And still, they chose to shut the door. Naomi took a slow step back from the gate. Then another. The cold bit into her feet, but she didn't flinch. She wiped her face, straightened her shoulders, and took a deep breath. "If they want me gone," she whispered to herself, "I'll leave." But not empty-handed. She turned away from the house that had rejected her, not broken, not begging, but awake. And as she walked down the dark street, one truth settled firmly in her heart. This is not a story about being rejected. This is a story about what happens after. Naomi often thought her life had been built on small promises she never remembered making. From a young age, she became the one everyone leaned on. She was the first in her family to finish college. While other students celebrated freedom, Naomi went straight from graduation to responsibility. Her father died suddenly during her final year, and after that everything changed. Her mother, Patricia, stopped being warm. She became strict, careful about appearances, always worried about what people would say. She rarely hugged Naomi, rarely praised her. Love in their house became something silent and conditional. Patricia liked control. She liked things looking perfect from the outside, even when they were broken inside. Marcus, Naomi's younger brother, never carried the same weight. He was the favorite, the one who could fail and still be forgiven. He borrowed money and forgot to return it. He quit jobs and blamed bad luck. Patricia always protected him. If Marcus made a mistake, Naomi was expected to fix it. If bills were late, Naomi paid. If there was tension in the house, Naomi was told to be the bigger person. Naomi didn't complain. She told herself this was what family did. She worked harder. She sent money home even after she moved out. When Marcus needed help, she helped. When her mother hinted that things were tight, Naomi filled the gap without asking questions. Then Naomi got married. She thought it would finally be her turn to rest. But instead, she carried another person's emotional weight. She supported her husband through job losses, stress, and self-doubt, while still supporting her family behind the scenes. Slowly, she disappeared inside that marriage. She became tired all the time. Quiet. Empty. When the marriage ended, it didn't explode. It faded. Naomi realized she had nothing left to give, and no one left who truly saw her. The divorce left her emotionally drained and financially stretched. That was when Patricia suggested she move back home for a little while. Just until you get back on your feet, her mother said. Naomi agreed, even though something inside her hesitated. At first, things seemed fine. Naomi helped around the house. She paid part of the mortgage. She bought groceries. She tried to stay invisible, not wanting to be a burden. But slowly the atmosphere changed. Patricia started making comments that sounded harmless, but felt sharp. You're still not sure what you want to do next. At your age, I was already settled. You shouldn't get too comfortable here. Marcus came and went freely. He slept late, ate without asking, borrowed Naomi's things without permission. If Naomi said anything, she was told she was being difficult. Rules appeared, but only for her. She had to explain where she was going. She was told when to come home. She was reminded that this was Patricia's house, even though Naomi was paying part of the bills. When Naomi tried to talk about how tired she felt, Patricia dismissed her. Everyone is tired, she said. You're not special. At night, Naomi lay awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling guilty for wanting more. Guilty for feeling hurt. Loyal, even when loyalty was hurting her. One afternoon, while organizing old files at Patricia's request, Naomi found something unexpected. Legal documents. Mortgage papers. Her name was still there, clear and official. She remembered now. Years ago, after her father died, Patricia had asked Naomi to help temporarily. Naomi had signed papers to keep the house safe. She had trusted her mother completely. Seeing her name in black and white made her chest tighten. She hadn't imagined her role. She hadn't exaggerated her sacrifices. She had been part of holding this house together. Still, Naomi said nothing. She didn't want conflict. She didn't want to be seen as ungrateful. She told herself that family mattered more than papers, but the exhaustion kept growing. It sat in her bones, in her silence, in the way she felt smaller every day. The fear crept in quietly. What if she lost her family completely? What if all the years she gave meant nothing? What if she walked away with nothing? No home, no savings, no place in the family story. Emotionally, she was already being erased. Practically, she was one bad moment away from homelessness. And deep inside, Naomi felt the most painful loss of all. The loss of her identity. After everything she had given, she was being treated like she had never mattered at all. She didn't know it yet, but the ground beneath her was already shifting. And soon, she would be forced to decide whether to disappear quietly or finally stand up for herself. Naomi overhears the conversation by accident. She is walking down the hallway with a basket of clean laundry when she hears her name. She stops without meaning to. The voices are coming from the kitchen. Her mother, Patricia, is speaking in a low, careful tone. Marcus is there too. We'll list the house soon, Patricia says, once everything is settled. And her name? Marcus asks. There is a short pause. Then Patricia replies, calm and sure. We'll take it off. She doesn't need to know until it's done. Naomi's hands go cold. She presses herself quietly against the wall, her heart beating so loud she's sure they can hear it. She'll make a scene, Marcus says. You know how she gets. Patricia sighs. She always plays the victim. We just need to be smart about it. Naomi feels like the air has been knocked out of her chest. Sell the house. Remove her name. Decide her future without her. All this time, she thought the tension was temporary, that things were uncomfortable but fixable. Now she understands this is not about stress or misunderstanding. This is a plan. She steps into the kitchen before she can talk herself out of it. What are you talking about? Naomi asks. Her voice is steady, even though her hands are shaking. Patricia looks surprised for only a second. Then her face hardens. Marcus avoids Naomi's eyes. I heard everything, Naomi says. You're selling the house. And you're trying to remove my name. Patricia crosses her arms. You shouldn't be listening to private conversations. I live here, Naomi replies quietly. And my name is on the papers. Patricia's voice turns cold. You were helping. That doesn't mean you own anything. The words sting more than Naomi expects. I paid the mortgage, Naomi says. For years. I signed documents after Dad died. You asked me to. Marcus finally speaks, his tone sharp. Here we go again. You always do this. Acting entitled. Acting like we owe you. I'm not acting, Naomi says. I just want honesty. Marcus shakes his head. You love playing the victim. Naomi looks from her brother to her mother. Neither of them looks guilty. Neither of them looks sorry. That hurts more than the plan itself. I don't want to fight, Naomi says. But I won't be erased. If you try to remove my name, I'll take legal action. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't threaten. She simply states a fact. Patricia laughs softly without warmth. You wouldn't do that to your own family. Naomi doesn't answer. She turns and walks out of the room. Her chest tight, her thoughts spinning. That night, the house feels different. Heavy. Hostile. Naomi can't breathe there. Around midnight, she grabs her keys and leaves to clear her head. She drives aimlessly, replaying the conversation again and again. Part of her hopes she misunderstood. Part of her hopes they'll talk to her when she comes back. When she returns, the street is quiet. Too quiet. She walks up to the gate and tries her key. It doesn't work. She tries again. Nothing. Her stomach drops. She walks to the door and knocks. No answer. She checks her phone. Messages sent. Calls unanswered. She looks through the window and sees the lights on. People are inside. The locks have been changed. Naomi stands there, barefoot, shaking, staring at the house that just hours ago was still hers. Her phone buzzes. A text from Marcus. Mom says this isn't a good idea right now. That's when the truth finally settles in. This isn't confusion. This isn't fear. This is choice. They chose to lock her out. They chose silence. They chose to erase her. For a moment, fear rises in her chest. Where will she go? What will she do? But then something else replaces it. Something clear and solid. Understanding. They have shown her exactly who they are. And now, Naomi knows exactly what she must do. She stops knocking. Stops begging. She steps back from the door, her hands steady now. This is no longer about family feelings. This is about survival. And Naomi is finally ready to protect herself. Naomi sits in her car with the seat pushed back, her coat pulled tightly around her. The night is cold and quiet. Her phone is finally charging from the car outlet. Her hands still shake, but she forces herself to breathe. She scrolls through her contacts and stops at one name she hasn't called in years. Elena Brooks. They went to law school together. Elena was always sharp, calm, and fair. Naomi hesitates for a moment, then presses call. Elena. Naomi says when the call connects. Her voice cracks. I don't know who else to call. Elena listens without interrupting as Naomi explains everything. The house, the money, the papers, the lockout at 3 a.m. There is a long pause on the other end. Do you have copies of the documents? Elena asks gently. Yes, Naomi replies. I kept everything. I didn't even know why. I just did. Good, Elena says. Send them to me. The next morning, Naomi sleeps for a few hours in the car. When she wakes up, her neck hurts and her eyes burn. But she feels something she hasn't felt in days, focus. She emails Elena every document she has. Mortgage statements, old agreements, bank transfers, signed papers from years ago. Later that day, Elena calls back. Naomi, she says, you legally own 40% of that house. Naomi grips the steering wheel. What? Your name isn't just there as a helper, Elena continues. You are an owner. And there's more. Elena explains slowly, clearly. There are payments that don't match records. Signatures Naomi doesn't recognize. Changes made without her consent. This looks like mortgage fraud, Elena says. And some signatures appear forged. Naomi closes her eyes. Her stomach twists. She never thought it would go this far. She trusted her mother. Trusted her family. Suing them feels wrong. It feels like betrayal. Naomi grew up believing family problems stayed inside the family. That loyalty meant silence. But another truth rises just as strong. If she stays silent, she will lose everything. Not just the house. Herself. While Naomi struggles with the decision, Patricia starts telling her own story. Relatives begin calling Naomi, not to ask if she's safe, but to accuse her. Your mother is worried about you, one aunt says. She says you're unstable. Another cousin messages, why are you trying to steal from your own family? Naomi's chest tightens every time she reads those words. Steal? After all she gave? Marcus blocks her completely. No calls, no texts, no explanation. Family group chats go quiet when Naomi speaks. Invitations stop coming. Support disappears almost overnight. She sits alone in her car again, scrolling through old photos. Birthdays. Holidays. Smiles that now feel fake. She thinks back to childhood. She remembers being 10 years old, standing on a chair to cook dinner, because her mother was tired. She remembers helping Marcus with homework while their mother praised him for being so smart. She remembers fixing problems that were never hers to fix. She was always the strong one, the reliable one, the quiet one. No one ever protected her. That truth hurts more than the lockout. Naomi parks outside a public library to use the Wi-Fi. She spreads her papers across the passenger seat. For the first time, she looks at them not as memories, but as evidence. Elena walks her through the process step by step. What to file, what to record, what not to say. Naomi listens carefully. She stops apologizing, stops explaining feelings. She focuses on facts. Late one afternoon, Naomi files the legal papers. Her hands shake as she presses submit. Once it's done, there is no going back. 2 days later, Patricia receives the notice. The phone starts ringing. Buisamail's fil Naomi's inbox. Patricia's voice is sharp, angry, scared. How could you do this to us? You're tearing this family apart. Call me right now. Marcus sends one message before blocking her again. You really did it. Naomi doesn't reply. For the first time, the panic is not hers. It belongs to them. They didn't think she would act. They thought she would cry, beg, forgive. They thought she would choose peace over truth. They were wrong. Naomi starts writing everything down. Dates. Times. Words said. Messages received. She takes screenshots. Saves voicemails. Organizes documents into folders. She stops asking for understanding. She stops chasing love that comes with conditions. The loneliness is still there. Some nights it feels heavy, but something else grows beside it, strength. Naomi looks at herself in the car mirror one evening and barely recognizes the woman staring back. She looks tired, older, but steadier. I'm not wrong, she whispers to herself. She is done fixing people who break her. She is done shrinking to keep others comfortable. What started as fear has turned into clarity. What felt like betrayal now feels like survival. Naomi doesn't know how the fight will end yet, but she knows one thing for sure. She is no longer begging to be let back in. She is standing up, and this time, she is not standing alone. Patricia expects Naomi to back down. She sits in the courtroom with her back straight and her face calm, dressed neatly, just like she always is when other people are watching. To anyone else, she looks like a worried mother dealing with a difficult daughter. She believes Naomi will fold at the last moment, apologize, and ask for forgiveness like she always has. Naomi walks in quietly and takes her seat. She doesn't look at her mother. Her hands are steady. Her face is calm, but her eyes are clear. This time, she is not here to beg. When the hearing begins, Patricia's lawyer speaks confidently. He describes Naomi as emotional, unstable, and confused. He says Patricia only wanted to protect her home. Marcus nods along, avoiding Naomi's gaze. Patricia watches Naomi closely, waiting for her to react. She expects tears, fear, silence. But Naomi doesn't move. When it is Naomi's turn, her lawyer stands. Elena's voice is steady as she presents the documents. Ownership papers, bank records, proof of payments made by Naomi over many years. Patricia shifts in her seat. Then comes the moment no one expects. Naomi's lawyer says, Your Honor, we also have recorded conversations. Patricia's head snaps up. The first recording plays. Patricia's voice fills the courtroom. Cold. She was helping. That doesn't mean she owns anything. There is a quiet murmur in the room. Another recording plays. Marcus's voice this time. She'll back down. She always does. Then another. If we lock her out, she'll have no choice. Patricia's face tightens. Her lips press into a thin line. She doesn't look as confident now. The recordings continue. Words that were never meant to be heard outside the kitchen. Proof of financial manipulation. Proof of the intentional lockout. Proof of years of emotional pressure. The judge listens carefully, taking notes. Marcus is called to speak. At first, he tries to sound confident. He repeats what he has been told. But under questioning, his voice starts to shake. He contradicts himself. He forgets details. Then he breaks. "I didn't think it would go this far," Marcus says, his voice cracking. "I thought she would just leave." Patricia turns sharply toward him. "Marcus," she whispers, but it's too late. Her control begins to slip. When Patricia speaks, she tries to explain everything away. She says Naomi misunderstood. That she was just trying to protect her family. That Naomi was emotional and difficult. But the recordings don't lie. The papers don't lie. The silence in the room grows heavy. Finally, the judge speaks. "The evidence clearly shows shared ownership," the judge says. "Naomi Carter legally owns 40% of the property." Patricia's breath catches. "The attempted sale is frozen," the judge continues. "Any changes to ownership without Ms. Carter's consent are invalid." The words land like a final blow. Patricia stares straight ahead, stunned. For the first time, she looks small. She underestimated the daughter she thought she had broken. After the ruling, Naomi stands. She asks to speak. The judge nods. Naomi turns toward her mother. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't cry. She doesn't accuse. "I trusted you," Naomi says softly. "I gave because I believed we were family." Patricia opens her mouth, but Naomi continues. "You taught me to be responsible, to be loyal. I was those things. You just didn't expect me to protect myself." The room is silent. "I didn't want this," Naomi says. "But you left me no choice." She stops speaking and sits down. "No shouting. No drama." The silence says everything. Patricia looks at Naomi, then really looks at her. Not as someone to control. Not as someone to use. But as someone she no longer has power over. The hearing ends. People stand. Chairs scrape against the floor. Naomi remains still for a moment, letting the weight of it settle. She didn't win by hurting them. She won by refusing to disappear. And for the first time in her life, she walks out of a room knowing she was finally seen. Naomi forces a legal buyout. It doesn't happen overnight. There are meetings, papers, and long weeks of waiting. But this time, Naomi doesn't feel scared. She follows the process carefully, with Elena guiding her step by step. In the end, Patricia has no choice. Naomi's share of the house is bought out legally and fairly. When the money finally reaches Naomi's account, she sits quietly in her car and stares at the screen. She doesn't feel excited. She feels relieved. For the first time in years, she can breathe. She uses the money carefully. She pays off the debts that followed her after the divorce. The weight she carried for so long slowly lifts from her chest. She rents a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood. It's nothing fancy, but it is hers. Every key on the ring belongs to her alone. Naomi cuts contact. She doesn't announce it. She doesn't argue. She simply stops answering. No calls. No messages. No explanations. At first, the silence feels strange, almost wrong. She was raised to always respond, always fix, always smooth things over. But slowly, the silence becomes peaceful. Naomi starts therapy. At first, she doesn't know what to say. She has spent her whole life focusing on other people's problems. Talking about herself feels uncomfortable. But over time, the words come. She talks about childhood, about being needed but never protected, about love that came with conditions. She learns that loyalty should not cost her safety, that love should not require pain. Week by week, she begins to rebuild her identity, not as a daughter who owes, not as a sister who sacrifices, but as a woman who chooses. One afternoon, a message appears on her phone. It's from Patricia. "I just want to talk," her mother writes. "We are still family." Naomi reads the message once. Then she puts the phone down. She doesn't feel angry. She doesn't feel guilty. She simply knows the answer. No. A few weeks later, Marcus sends a long message. He apologizes. He says he was confused, that he didn't mean for things to go so far, that he hopes they can move on. Naomi reads it slowly. She feels a small ache in her chest, but she doesn't reply. An apology that comes after consequences is not the same as accountability. She doesn't block them. She doesn't argue. She just chooses distance. And that choice changes everything. Naomi begins to fill her life with small, quiet joys. Morning coffee on her balcony. Long walks without checking her phone. Evenings where no one needs anything from her. She stops explaining herself. When someone asks why she doesn't talk to her family, she simply says, "I needed peace." And that is enough. She notices changes in herself. She speaks more slowly. She sleeps better. Her shoulders are no longer tense all the time. She laughs more easily. Not loudly, but freely. For the first time, her kindness is a choice, not a duty. Naomi understands now that boundaries are not punishment. They are protection. She didn't lose her family. She found herself. And in that quiet discovery, Naomi realizes something important. She is no longer surviving. She is living on her own terms. Naomi in her own apartment feels different now. The space is quiet and warm. Soft light fills the small living room. Every piece of furniture was chosen by her. Nothing here carries old memories or old pain. The windows are closed. The door is locked. She is safe. It has been 1 year. Naomi sits on the couch with a book in her hands, but she isn't reading. She is thinking about how far she has come. The nights in her car. The courtroom. The silence she chose. The peace she earned. Then there is a knock at the door. The sound is gentle but firm. Naomi's body tenses for just a second. She stands slowly and walks toward the door. Her heart beats a little faster as she looks at her phone. 3:07 a.m. The number makes her pause. For a moment, old memories try to return. Cold air. Bare feet. A locked gate. A text instead of a face. Naomi takes a deep breath. She looks through the peephole. It's not her mother. Not her brother. Not anyone from her past. It's a delivery driver, holding a small package. Naomi opens the door carefully. She signs, takes the package, and thanks him. When she closes the door, the lock clicks softly into place. She leans against the door for a moment, letting the silence settle around her. She is not shaking. She is not afraid. She walks back into her living room and places the package on the table. The clock on the wall continues to tick, steady and calm. The same time. A different life. Naomi sits down and looks around her home. The walls do not judge her. The door does not refuse her. No one inside wants to control or erase her. She smiles just a little. They locked me out to break me, she thinks. But all they did was force me to build a door of my own. Naomi turns off the light and goes to bed. The night stays quiet. And for the first time, 3:07 a.m. is just another hour. Not a wound, but a reminder of her strength. Hey friends. Thanks for watching all the way through. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.